Hi, everyone. My name is Ariel, and I'm Sustainability Advisor here at the University of Maryland. And I'm here to help you find ways of addressing some of these challenges of sustainability and solutions during your time here at UMD. I became a sustainability advisor last fall in 2020, and I can promise you it is never too late to get started. In high school, actually, I first heard about the topic of sustainability with recycling. And I decided to start a sustainability club and implement the concept of composting and was able to raise awareness and campaigns and petitions for all students across my campus in high school. And pretty much became president and allowed that to continue after my time of graduation. So I'm here to tell you about how Maryland itself works to be sustainable, and let's get started. I'd like to start with an activity. And no, I'm not actually asking for your phone number, but take a few seconds to think about your phone number. Think about the number of phones that you've owned in your lifetime to date. So count the number of individual phones. Maybe you had one in sixth grade, got one in eighth grade, broke it, and got a new one. Take a few seconds to think about it. Okay, once you got that number in your hand, take a second again and just think maybe how many years you've had those phones. To date, the average student alone at the University of Maryland has already had 4 phones in their lives. And I'm guilty of that. I've had 4 as well. But this means that just the current UMD students have owned over 200,000 phones. Rarely we think about the huge environmental impacts all of our phones have. There's the impact of, mining for materials that go into our phones, the energy into producing our phones, the impact of disposing our phones with usage, and all this to say about the impact of phones on our human health and the end of life. What happens when we're done with them? I, of course, to think about all those phones I have in that junk drawer. If you can think, maybe you have one in your house as well. But to each of us, a phone seems like a really small thing that wouldn't have too much of an environmental impact. But when you realize that 1.5 billion phones could be disposed of just this year, then you might start to think about the collective impact our everyday lives and choices have. So many of the products and processes that we just thought about with our phones, designed by people, are built in the idea that nature is limitless. So some of the companies that make our t-shirts, our shoes, and phones take these raw materials from nature, make the products again that we buy continually, and design them in a way that can't be returned back to nature. This is certainly unsustainable and what we like to call a linear economy. This is unsustainable because of course, nature certainly has its limits, and there's only so much we can take from it before pollution truly escalates. Now, sustainability itself is all about designing and operating our products and systems following the simple rules of nature. And this is what we like to call a circular economy, where you make something, you use something, and you recycle something. Now, for the rest of this presentation, we'll focus on this concept of a circular economy. Now, I'd like to take a second and let's go back to the phones we were talking about before. Look at this problem more maybe as an engineer or product designer. What are some ways that companies could design phones to last longer? Now, take a few seconds. Perhaps maybe the phone battery life could be longer, or companies can sell specific parts to fix your phone rather than buying an entire new one. Or maybe screens that don't crack as easily when you drop it one time. Now let's take a look at another perspective. You might have already asked yourselves, why wouldn't companies want to design phones that last longer? You might have thought of the idea of profit, or that companies want to remain competitive to their others so that they stay on top of the market. Companies are building phones that are maybe not so water resistant or have shattered screens perhaps, just so that they can profit off of our buying of them. So the thing that I really want you to take away from this is that you truly do vote with every dollar you spend. We are changing the global economy by purchasing products and services from companies and organizations whose values should align with our own. So consumer products are very quick, and we want to make sure that we're spending wisely. Now, let's look at this concept from one more perspective. What are some ways that we can change our own personal behaviors to reduce the environmental impact of our cell phones? Take another second or two. You may have thought of um, making these phones last longer by handing them down, maybe, or waiting a little bit longer to get a new phone before the iOS next version comes out. So truly just changing that in any way. But we can look around campus for what we like to see as e-waste bins. So this reduces some environmental impact by recycling old electronics instead of them sitting in your drawer. This can be dead batteries, old headphones with those cords instead of AirPods, and chargers that are broken or don't work anymore. So we just examined how students in engineering, business, or behavioral science might look at this issue. But truly, every major can influence the sustainability of our future. So take a look and see if you find your major here or perhaps your interests. One of the reasons it's great to be at the University of Maryland is because there are so many people working on creating sustainable solutions from so many different angles. Now, I'd like to take a little bit of time to shift from what we just talked about to global challenges. The University of Maryland is one of many organizations around the entire world deeply committed to sustainability because we have some really big problems to solve just on campus alone, and truly not that much time to solve them. I'm going to take this time now to talk about global challenges so that we're all on the same page about what's happening here on this little place we like to call Earth. I do promise there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so please stick with me. Human activity is causing a mass extinction of species. In just the last 50 years alone, we've wiped out 2/3 of wildlife on Earth. If we continue down this path, we will have completely destroyed the very ecosystems that give us clean air, clean water, and food. Today, 96% of remaining mammals on Earth are humans and the animals that we raise for food. Think about all of the animals that you know that have gone extinct. Now, we still have to think about our friends underwater. 9 million 9 million tons of plastic enter the oceans every year. By 2050, there could be more plastic by weight than fish in the ocean. 85% of marine life is now extinct or facing extinction. What's happening to life underwater is actually even worse than what's happening to life on land. And the worst part is, they can't even see it. Sea levels are rising. Maryland has already lost 12 islands in the Chesapeake Bay from sea level rise over the past few decades, but impacts will only get much worse over the coming years. We will see a sea level rise of at least 2 to 8 feet just during our own lifetimes. And that's if the world stopped entering greenhouse gas emissions immediately, which is pretty unrealistic. Just a 2-foot sea level rise will destroy coastal towns that we know so well, like Ocean City, Bethany, Rehoboth, and maybe even Miami. Shockingly, we will even lose half of Dorchester County, Maryland, again, just during our lifetimes. Hurricanes, wildfires, severe thunderstorms are only getting stronger and more frequent. If getting more and more expensive for people, cities, and states to repair their communities and elsewhere around the world, it's harder to recover for these increasing weather events. We've seen plenty of tornado warnings last semester, power outages recently, and flooding in New Orleans. and even the California wildfires not too long ago. Crop yields are starting to decrease in some regions due to extreme heat. Many crops stop growing or die at these high temperatures, leaving farmers extremely vulnerable. Nearly 780 million people are currently living in extreme poverty. 2 million children die each year from severe malnutrition. More than half of the people on Earth are currently facing water shortages. Rivers, lakes, and aquifers are dying or becoming too polluted to use. And this is happening all over the world. Millions of people are forced to leave their homes because of sea level rise, drought, and resource wars, which we have seen recently as well. We are at the beginning of what some experts say is the worst humanitarian crisis the world has ever known. Now, understanding that the human population on Earth has exploded in just the last few generations truly helps us understand why these global challenges are unfolding so rapidly. When your parents were born, maybe around 1970s or earlier or later, there were only 3.7 billion people on Earth. By the time many of you were born, maybe around like 2002, 2003, the population had expanded to 6.2 billion. And today, there are nearly 7.9 billion people. And we're seeing how our collective impact is not only harming ourselves and the rest of the planet, but is required for the human population to be sustainable. Now, reaching maybe 10 to 11 billion people during our lifetimes, the big question becomes, how do we sustain life on our planet with this many people consuming resources and producing waste? Again, I know this kind of information is disheartening, but I want to be real and transparent about these global challenges so that we're prepared to work together to solve these problems. Let's switch gears a bit, and I want to talk about some solutions. So we have some pretty big challenges to solve within the next few years. Fortunately, world leaders have agreed upon a set of global goals to achieve by 2030, which is still less than 10 years away. Last year, if you remember, the New York Times posted a 7-year countdown to take action before these are all irreversible. Now, these are visionary but achievable goals, such as ending poverty in all its forms everywhere, or ensuring access to clean water and sanitation for all. To put this in perspective, 1 in 3 people don't have access to safe drinking water. In a Zoom room of 100 students, that's nearly 33 of us. And another one, taking urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. Now, these are pretty big goals, and it will not only take your individual action, but a worldwide effort to achieve them. A lot of students, like myself, get really excited about sustainability and want to single handedly save the world. And trust me, again, I definitely do. So I really want to emphasize the fact that you'll get overwhelmed if you try to take on too much. And the people who are most successful at doing good for the world, for themselves, are the ones who focus on specific solutions. Take Ben Simon, for example. He was a UMD graduate student, and when he was a student here, he decided he wanted to do something to address hunger and food waste, specifically goals 2 and 12. By linking these, he and his friends created the Food Recovery Network. Now, in the light of Big Ten football coming back, here's a quick video about in which the Big Ten Network made about this Food Recovery Network. So I'll let them tell the story.
Here at the University of Maryland, we have more than 35,000 students, and every single one of them needs one thing: food. Our dining halls are packed with food, but a lot of it used to go to waste. Thousands and thousands of pounds of food is wasted every single year across college campuses. Do you know how many people go hungry in America? 1 out of 6. Here at Maryland, we decided to connect the dots. So began the Food Recovery Network. Our mission is to fight two problems at once: hunger and food waste. We've become the largest student movement against hunger in America, and it all started right here at College Park. The Food Recovery Network now has chapters at almost 100 colleges. I would love to see every single Big Ten college start a Food Recovery Network chapter and be donating their surplus food instead of throwing it away. It's pretty simple. Food is for people, not garbage cans.
So almost every night during a normal semester, students collect unserved food from the dining halls that you may know so well. South Campus, maybe, Denton, or North Campus dining halls. And they transport this food to local shelters. So the hungry and homeless in our regions can get a hot meal from the food that we're not even eating. This is just one of the many student organizations you can volunteer with and get involved with while you're at Maryland. After graduation, sorry, Ben moved to California and founded a company called Imperfect Produce, which takes this ugly food, but perfectly edible food, fruits and vegetables that grocery stores won't buy from farmers and ships them for low prices directly to your door. Now, another UMD graduate student, Evan Lutz, founded a similar company called Hungry Harvest. And if you're familiar with Shark Tank, he was in fact there. These are just two examples of former UMD students, just like you, who found ways of eating a healthy living while helping people and the planet at the same time. Now, I want to show you one more example. Take Debbie Numagahi, who was also a UMD student, and she became extremely passionate about transforming communities by helping people simply understand their own environmental impacts and working directly with them to change their own personal behaviors, like we talked about with our phone usages. She realized that behavior change can lead to climate change, and that culture change as well is a big part of what we need right now. After graduating from UND, she earned a master's degree in sustainability and left us to go to the Arizona State University, then became a sustainability associate back at UMD. Sorry. Went to Bucknell University to become a sustainability coordinator, and then landed as sustainability manager for the Eastern Kentucky University. Debbie was able to lead a sustainability transformation of a community with nearly 20,000 faculty, staff, and students. Now, the moral of the story is simply to figure out what specific problems you want to solve and then work on finding solutions. And if you're not sure where to start, check out the Global Goals at globalgoals.org, or even contact the Office of Sustainability at any time. Now let's shift gears again and understand how the University of Maryland is a living lab for sustainability solutions, where we implement scalable solutions that work to solve some of these global challenges and create opportunities for students just like you to get involved. I'm going to brag about us a little bit now. UMD is ranked among the top green colleges in the nation, and the university has made commitments to becoming a national leader for a green university. We've eliminated carbon footprints, prepared all students to create a sustainability future, use water sustainably, minimize waste, and advance sustainability locally and globally. And the presentation I'm giving to you right now is one of the many ways that the university is addressing this third objective. UMD has cut its carbon footprint by over half this last decade. We have approximately 10,000 solar panels on campus, including roughly 2,000 panels on this solar canopy on top of Regent's Drive parking garage. Most of UMD's renewable energy actually comes from off campus, which includes wind and solar farms, some of which are located in Western Maryland. And as of this year, 100% of UMD's imported electricity is coming from renewable sources. Additionally, all of our new buildings will operate with net zero greenhouse gas emissions. The Erie Center, which you might have been in for computer science, is the first building to meet this standard, and soon also with the new public policy building on campus. UMD was possibly the first large university to offset 100% of air travel emissions by investing in projects that avoid or sequester the same amount of carbon emissions as are emitted by the planes that we fly. One project is partnering with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation to plant trees here in the Chesapeake Bay watershed to do so. UMD also works to offset 100% of emissions from undergraduate student commuter vehicles. So, if you or anyone you know drives to and from campus or has this commuter parking permit, then you can rest a bit easier, knowing that the university is eliminating the climate impact of commuting. Now, if you commute to campus this semester, that's okay, but rest assured. But assuming we do return to the days when thousands of students, faculty, staff members, and visitors come to campus each day, then this new Purple Line, which is a commuter train, will be super helpful. The Purple Line is a light rail train, and it's going to connect Montgomery and Prince George's counties with 5 stops on or adjacent to campus. When this is soon operational, it will make it even easier for people to commute to and from campus without taking their own car. And here's a map of the Purple Line. You can see how it connects these 2 counties from New Carrollton Metro Station on the east to the Bethesda Metro Station on the west. One of the project aims is to reduce traffic congestion on 495, which I'm sure you're also familiar with. And in doing so, UMD staff and students again will be able to ride this train for free between these 5 stops and reduce a lot of emissions. The Purple Line will also help to get people to visit UMD, and specifically UMD's Turf Farm, which is a partnership with Dining Services and the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources, where students practice sustainable agriculture techniques to grow food for students, again, just like you. Most of the food grown at Turf Farm is sent to UMD's dining halls and Reed Tidings food trucks. Some of the food is also donated for distribution through the campus pantry, and I definitely recommend you check these out. Dining services are actually a large leader on campus for sustainability in numerous ways. UMD just this year became the first university in the world to sign the Cool Food Pledge. In doing so, dining services again work to reduce climate impacts on their food purchases. And we'll discuss this also in a few minutes. About 10 years ago as well, students at the University of Maryland decided to take a small portion of the student fees that we pay to create a sustainability fund. This fund is one of the amazing tools we have available to us to launch new sustainability projects and develop solutions to global challenges. And every year, there is at least $300,000 available to students, faculty, and staff to implement new projects that you come up with. Now, this commercial highlights just a few of the projects that receive funding from the Sustainability Fund in recent years at Maryland.
The science is clear. Climate change is caused by humans.
The earth is getting hotter.
So drive less and bike more.
Single-use plastic does not help anyone.
Use a refillable water bottle instead.
Climate change is happening, and the University of Maryland is continuing to be a national leader on climate action. But Terps can do more.
At the University of Maryland, students, faculty, and staff are creating solutions to the world's most vexing problems. You can see and feel a commitment to sustainability throughout the university's teaching, research, service, and operations.
Snakes.
UMD is striving to achieve net zero carbon emissions from campus operations. All new buildings are carbon neutral and integrate green design features such as green roofs and solar panels. Interior spaces incorporate compost bins and motion detector lights. Campus buildings are also living labs for sustainability, where students can design and test new solutions, such as this patent-pending device that prevents unnecessary toilet flushing. Many solutions are the result of UMD's innovative research. Nutrient-rich substrates are now used on area rooftop farms. Sphagnum moss is a part of the pool filtration system in the Epley Recreation Center, reducing reliance on pool chemicals and saving water. And we have a sustainable farm in Upper Marlborough and growing spaces around campus. Some of the produce from these ventures is served in campus dining halls, sold at the campus farmers market, or donated to community members in need. We try to be a steward of natural resources within our watershed. To that end, water draining across campus is measured and monitored by strategically placed stormwater sensors and controls before flowing into the Chesapeake Bay watershed. Sustainability is part of who we are. That's why there are nearly 50 degree programs that prepare students to work on environmental issues. For faculty and staff, there are numerous programs they can participate in while reducing their environmental footprint. And the Sustainability Fund awards more than $250,000 each year to support sustainable initiatives. Previous recipients include the Food Recovery Network, water bottle filling stations, and DOT's Bicycle Recycling Project. The University of Maryland is addressing complex interconnected issues such as climate change by investing in strategies to restore the well-being of all life on our planet. Together, Terrapin Strong, we can help solve grand challenges for a brighter, cleaner, and more equitable future. To learn more and be a part of the solution, join us at sustainability.umd.edu.
Now, you don't have to come up with a big idea to get a grant from the Sustainability Fund to make a difference. There are a few specific things that we're asking all UMD students to do to become a part of the solutions generation. Here are 4 simple actions in becoming a green terp. Sign up. In fact, since you might already be multitasking, go ahead. You can open a new tab, go to greenterp.umd.edu, and sign up now before you forget. You'll also have the opportunity to take actions in several categories, like saving water. You can do so by, I'm sure you've heard, turning off the sink while you brush your teeth, or even taking a shorter shower. Conserving energy, turning the lights off when you leave your room, or maybe even turning those LED lights when you leave your room as well. And reducing waste. Again, with the food waste we talked about in the dining halls, be conscious of what you're eating and putting on your plate. By the way, there's been a lot of news recently about global recycling industry, pointing out that not as much recycled material as we think actually gets turned into new products. So that's why we're encouraging everyone to focus on reducing your consumption, especially of single-use items. So again, please join Green Terp. And in doing so, you can select a gift like metal straws and reusable bamboo utensils by committing online now. And here's the link again. Now, some personal actions may be more impactful than others. When it comes to fighting climate change, there's one action we can do daily that can have a big impact. Most people know that burning fossil fuels for electricity, heat, and transportation are major sources of greenhouse gases. However, what many people don't know is that agriculture is the second largest source of emissions globally and contributes to more climate change impacts than all of transportation, including driving, flying, and shipping all those Amazon packages that you get every day. Now, there's currently a worldwide effort to reduce the climate impact of food, which happens to have other direct benefits to people and other species. Although controversial, we're encouraging everyone to eat less meat, especially beef and lamb. This photo of fires burning in the Amazon rainforests helps show how people are setting fires to clear areas of forests in order to convert them to grazing land for cattle. Burning forests for cattle is destabilizing the climate and causes habitat loss. One serving of beef has as much of climate impact than a serving of chicken, fish, or eggs. Vegetables, fruits, and grains, and even nuts are best for individual and planetary health. Physicians even recommend that limiting consumption of beef and pork and lamb is linked with cancer, heart disease, and premature death, so it may be in your best interest. Again, learn more about these topics. You can add a minor in sustainability with just 15 credits. That's nearly 5 courses, which may send a message as well to employers that you have more to offer than other students in your major or field of study. I have a sustainability minor and I added it my sophomore year. So it's very interesting and even accounts for a lot of Gen Ed requirements. Finally, and I really don't want to be subtle about this, vote. You vote with every dollar you spend. Every time you buy something, you're saying you approve of how it was made and how the company that made it treats their workers, or voting with your wallet, as I like to call it. But you can also vote for sustainability and climate action in every local, state, and federal election, which you all are now able to do. Many of the solutions needed to fully address these big global challenges that we discuss go beyond what we can do through individual action. So we need elected officials to represent our interests and work for the public good. Elections have consequences, so always use your vote to make your political voice heard. There's certainly more information on the Sustainable UMD website about ways to get involved and what the university is still doing to be a national leader in this area. Please visit our website, Sustainable UMD, and subscribe to the email newsletter. And it's not one of those newsletters that hits you with emails every other second. It's good, and it's very interesting to read. So it's an easy way to get updates in your inbox. Again, here we are. Please like, follow, subscribe to our social media to continually learn about internships, volunteer opportunities, news, and events. And feel free to email the Office of Sustainability. And my contact information is here as well. I'm happy to talk more about ways to get involved or my experience here at the University of Maryland as a senior. And I want to thank you for your time and your participation in listening to me for this lesson. Feel free again to ask any questions, reach out about sustainability, or being a UMD student in general. Thank you so much.